Okay. One of the things I like to do when we meet for the first time is go over some things that make an athlete mentally tough. What do you think makes a mentally tough softball player?
I would say confidence, focus, um, discipline, coachability, um, optimism, and emotional control.
How important are those factors to you as a softball player?
I think they're very important. Softball is a very mental sport. You have to be able to keep yourself and your emotions under control and be um, kind of poised out there so that you don't make mistakes.
Yeah, cool. So we're going to go through this pie chart for the performance profile. You hit on quite a few of the ones we had written down for softball players. Let's just start with focus. So, what would focus look like in a softball player?
It means being ready each play and then anticipating the next play, not daydreaming or being up in the clouds because it's not like a constant sport. You have to be able to deal with kind of the silence in between pitches or plays.
What would you rate yourself as a softball player, 1 to 10, on your ability to focus?
I would say a 6.
Perfect. Okay. Next one. Let's move on to discipline. So, what would discipline look like in a softball player?
Discipline means giving your all every play. It also means um, giving your all like during practices and not during the games because you practice how you play. So
What would you rate your level of discipline as a softball player for this one?
I would say an 8 or 9. I don't miss workouts. Excuse me, and I don't miss practices. And I think it goes along with focus, being able to set your goals and stay on track for your goals.
All right, on to effort. What would effort look like in a softball player?
It means physically giving 110% each play, whether that's practice or games, and not taking a rep off because every rep counts.
What would you rate your effort ability?
I would say a 6 or 7. I think sometimes during practices I mess around when I probably shouldn't.
So we can see it. Okay, perfect. On to emotion control. What would emotion control look like for a softball player?
It means when you strike out, not getting too down on yourself, knowing that you're going to have another at bat, or if you miss a ground ball or a pop fly, um, kind of following through with the play and then keeping your head up and not getting too down on yourself because that can affect your teammates as well.
What would you rate your emotion control?
I would say probably a 6. I think that I'm very hard on myself and I get down on myself with a lot of negative self talk.
Cool. Let's move on to optimistic. So, what would an optimistic softball player look like?
Um, an optimistic softball player would be one that, after like bad plays or bad games, picks each other up and picks themselves up as well and holds themselves accountable.
What would you rate your ability to be optimistic and have optimism?
I would say a 5. Um, I think along with the emotion control, like I just get really down on myself,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it can bleed over into next at bats at next plays as well.
On to coachability. What would being coachable look like?
It means taking like constructive criticism really well, and not taking it too personally. When your coaches ask you to do something, you try it with 100%, not like having an attitude with your coaches or anything like that as well.
What would your level of coachability
I would
be
say an 8 or 9.
at? Okay. On on to leadership. How important is it to have leadership, and what does that look like in softball?
I think it's really important. I think everyone plays a leadership role on a softball team because you have your own unique position and responsibilities at that position. A leader is someone who is selfless and takes accountability, but also picks up their teammates and sets a good example.
What would your leadership level be at?
I would say probably a 6. I would say that I am a leader by action, not necessarily by words.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one, confidence. What does confidence look like in a softball player, and why is it important?
I think confidence goes along with like optimism. If you always have a negative outlook, you're going to continue to have negative outcomes. I think confidence. If you go up to the batter's box and you already are worried that you're going to strike out, you're more likely to strike out. So having the confidence and telling yourself with that positive self-talk, like I can do this, is really important.
What is your confidence level as a softball player?
I would probably say a 4, just because I don't trust myself or my abilities. So that's definitely something I should work on.
Okay, so the performance profile can be viewed as an inventory of where you are at with these mental skills right now, but it's not necessarily where you will be in a few months or even a year. What would you consider to be your psychological weaknesses?
Probably that confidence and that emotional control, just with needing to work on that positive self-talk.
So does anything jump out at you at this point that you would like to make large gains with?
Confidence.
I know you already touched on it a little bit, but are there any other things that you would, or why you would rate yourself weaker in some of these areas?
I think there's always room for improvement, so I didn't give myself a 10 on anything, even though, like, for discipline, like, I've never missed a practice or a workout, but I wouldn't give myself a 10 because I think there's just always room for improvement in every single aspect.
So how does your profile affect your performance and behavior in your activity?
I think knowing that there's always room for improvement allows me to consistently work hard and have goals and set those goals and work towards them during practice and in workouts.
What goals do you have for improving in any of these areas? How could you use your profile to improve your psychological skills and performance in softball?
I think knowing where I probably rate myself the least helps me to identify where I can improve the most and see those big changes. And I think for me, it's going to come down to identifying those times when I don't, when I have negative self-talk and switching that over into a positive mindset.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.